How's it going, eh? A lot of you don't know this, but I grew up here in Canada. Yeah, the great land of Canada. I emigrated to Massachusetts when I was like, I don't know, 11 or something, but I feel like there's a great disconnect between this great nation and the one below it. I don't think Americans know a lot about Canada, so I'm going to be trying to educate you a little bit on our great land today. So I grew up here. That's where I'm going to start in Quebec. It's a French province. I think during colonization, during the Revolution and all that, a bunch of French people came over here and took over the north. Uh, they're French speaking in Quebec. Yeah. Everywhere else in Canada is English speaking, but this one is being a little brat about it, and they won't turn over. I think that's because of their politics or whatever. I guess a bunch of guys came over in the 1980s. They were called the FLQ. They were like this socialist group who they blew up a bunch of guys in the capital and said, "You better take us French seriously, or else." So now this whole place, this green right here, speaks French. If you're on a plane in here in an English speaking province and you're flying to Quebec, you have to speak French. It doesn't make sense at all. There's a whole political divide about that. Down here in America, we're all in a tizzy about race or whatever. These guys are real upset about language. I don't know why. That's their biggest problem. So yeah, I grew up in a suburb of Montreal. Life was great. We had a pool, played hockey. It was fine. There was nothing wrong with growing up in Canada. It's very similar to the Northeast. My grandfather grew up about 16 hours north of there. You know how cold it is up there? It's cold. He grew up in a town I think called Rouen-Nanterre. They got a hockey club up there, a minor hockey club. I think that's where Torrey Krug comes from. He's a defenseman for the Boston Bruins. But yeah, my grandfather grew up in a small little town 16 hours north of any civilization. I don't know if you know about Canada. About 98% of the people live on the coast. Not on the coast, sorry, the American border. Nobody lives up here. It's inhabitable. You think when you go up here, there's more land. There's still land up here where my grandfather lived. He did a lot of tree planting as a kid when he was, I don't know, 16. It was like his summer job. That's what they use this area for up here. They plant a lot of trees. I don't know, good for lumber or something. He said their summers are about an hour long. I don't know. I think you just get the month of June and then it goes back to cold, disgusting. So yeah, I don't know. Quebec is a nice province. Let's move on to Nova Scotia. New Scotland, eh? That's what that means. Nova Scotia is New Scotland. Yeah, that was colonized by the Scots back when, I don't know when, but it's kind of like Maine. They got a bunch of lobster there. There's a big debate about who's got the best lobster and who's got the best seafood and all that. I haven't tried it. That's New Brunswick. That's this whole area. I think there's a national park up there or something. I don't know. Nice place to live, I guess. I think their economy's bad because it's all coming from the ocean, eh? And it's not a good way to structure your economy. Newfoundland, the purple here. I don't know much about Newfoundland. I think there's a bunch of hockey players that come from there. Yeah, Brad Marchand, if you know him, he comes from there. Uh, yeah, that's really cold up there. That's pretty north, and it's right on the ocean too, so the winds have got to be brutal. I don't know much about Newfoundland. We're gonna go down here to Ontario. Yeah, Ontario is where you want to be if you're gonna move to Canada. They got Toronto down here. Toronto's a nice city. That's like the New York of Canada, right? That's You're on the East Coast. It's just a bustling city. It's a nice hub. You've got Ottawa in there as well as the capital. This is where you want to be. Quebec, you don't want to live there because you got to speak French, and plus they think government jobs there or something. Anyways, you don't want to work for the post office. Go to Toronto. Or a suburb of Toronto. Just go somewhere around there. I don't know too much about this area. The Great Lakes are there, so it's got to be pretty dang cold. Let's move over to the west. Winnipeg. Oh my God. It's so cold in Winnipeg. Whenever you see somebody from there, you just go like this. You just give them the sign of respect. It's like seeing a war vet. It's just so cold there just because this wind is blowing up. It's right above Minnesota. You know how cold Minnesota gets? They get down to like -20, -30. You don't want to live there. Great hockey fans there, though, eh? They don't make it to the playoffs often, Winnipeg Jets, but when they do, then great hockey. That's one of my bucket lists is to go see a playoff game in Winnipeg. All right, moving on. We're going west. Same thing, Saskatchewan. Those are weird provinces. I think it's a bunch of oil fields down here in Calgary, Regina towards the south. Calgary's like Detroit now because the dummy in the Canada's White House. He flooded the oil markets there, and now inflation has just turned Calgary into Detroit. Their whole economy was based off of oil, and now it's just worth nothing. And then I think their approval rating for the PM, Justin Trudeau, here is like something ridiculously low, maybe 2%. Nobody in Calgary or Edmonton or this whole part of the country is voting for him. He gets all his votes from over here. I don't know how he got reelected. Oh, hang on, I've got to restart the video so we can see Canada. No, not a documentary about Canada. Oh boy, I'm gonna have to edit this part out. Here we go. Okay, we're back. Where were we? Yeah, Oh yeah, moving west. This area gets a little nicer over here, British Columbia. This is sort of where the Canadian Rockies end. They come right up through Idaho, and then you've got sort of this west coast thing over here. Vancouver, this whole area, this bottom, is like LA. It's just west coast. Toronto's New York, Vancouver's LA. Same thing. And this is DC because of the government. Vancouver, I don't know. It's a lot of old people there, I think. You might go there if you're retired. It's really expensive to live. You're right near Seattle, and then you can go up to Alaska if you want. I don't know what you're doing up there. It's freaking cold up there, man. Yeah, Vancouver's a nice place to live if you got some money, but I don't know. If you're young, bustling, trying to get your business going, I wouldn't go there. I'd go to Toronto over here on the East Coast. This is where people work. That's where people go to die. Anyways, up here during the election, I think a lot of people said, "Oh, if Trump gets elected, I'm going to Canada." There's no room in Canada here. Everybody's along the border. Everything else is inhabitable. They say it's a big land. They'll go up here to Uktuk or whatever, that Yellowknife. You know how much of this land is habitable? None of it. That's why they call it none of it. You can't live there. This is where they get all the pictures of documentaries and things like that of polar bears eating seals and all. Yeah, they go up there and take pictures. Nobody's living up there. Some of it's Indian reservation land and conservation land, but it's not habitable, man. It's not where you want to, build a family, settle yourself. That's about it for Canada, eh? All right, well, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you learned something about Canada, and visit here more. It's a great land.